Monsters and Mortals, my favorite parasite. Here we are, yet again, our annual checkup on the Dark Deception multiplayer experience. It's been a long time since Year 3, a whole year in fact. That video ended on a bit of a gloomy note, but with some slight hope at the prospect of Year 4 being more interesting. The infamous Epic Games roadblock largely held back the game's second and third years. With that obstacle out of the way, it appeared some of the long-awaited DLCs might finally be seeing the light of day. So, how did things go? Honestly, better than you'd think. After a month of silence, Year 4 properly began with screenshots of the Poppy Playtime DLC on both Twitter and Steam. With a rate of about one new picture a day, we were graced with the vents, Kissy's model in-game, her ultimate icon, please don't be a barrage, brighter lighting, the stage name, a limited time release like Silent Hill. Yeah, not the most uplifting first impressions, but fortunately it seemed the DLC was launching soon. What do you mean it just shadow dropped? Alright, so, Poppy Panic. Not keen on the name, but judging its merits, the unique rooms aside, half the map is this one corridor from Poppy Chapter 1 copied dozens of times over, and the rest is just the vents. They're so claustrophobic, I'm surprised they haven't been cancelled yet. Lighting's also not their strong suit, and dead ends? Not in my Monsters and Mortals DLC. The unique rooms fare better, but they're all taken directly from, again, Poppy Chapter 1. I know this stage was always intended to be based on that singular opening chapter, but it's still a shame we don't have any locations or even references to the later installments. At least the boss, Huggy Wuggy, actually has some good attention to detail. He'll adjust his speed and animation depending on the room's height. That's pretty cool. Something less cool is that you can kill him in 5 hits. And something even less cool is that when you kill him, he does the patented Family Guy death pose. Okay, that's not cool, it's actually kind of funny. But why can you kill him? He doesn't respawn, his damage output is tame compared to other bosses, there are only 4 of him. Really the only gameplay thing going for him is his speed. It's not like amazing or anything, it's just his best attribute, and even then it's just decent. And reminder, there are no other bosses in the game that you can kill. I don't even understand why Huggy is any different. He's basically a less threatening chef monkey in every area, and you can't kill those psychopaths. Now this is probably because, despite popular belief, Huggy Wuggy isn't the true boss of Poppy Panic. No, that honor goes to Cappy. Look, I'm not gonna beat around the bush, these things were patched and nerfed a bit, but at launch they were not playing around. Dispensing poisonous gas, which is what Cappy was known for in Poppy Playtime, source trust me bro, they deal a pretty solid amount of continual damage, which wouldn't be so bad if their population wasn't so goddamn high. You can destroy them like bananas, but odds are you're still getting the fumes and you just have to suck it up. Poison is essentially bleed, which is similar to burn, which surprisingly got a new icon out of nowhere in this update. It's cool, but only shows up on our newest monster, Kissy Missy. Her skins are nothing special, just some recolors, yet we gotta talk about her gameplay. After Penny was a range monster and ruined everything that idea stood for, it's fair to say that Kissy has redeemed that notion. Her arms go far. Maybe too far. And that health though. Kissy finally brought to light the issues that come with the range monster. Being able to hit from far away while being a tank with decent speed spits in the face of what I like to call game balance. Penny sucked because her eggs were unreliable given how slow they traveled, yet Kissy alleviates this problem and as such is on the opposite side of the spectrum. The only thing keeping her from being truly broken is the lack of a busted ultimate. Toy Tornado spins the user while launching cat beat bombs in the 4 cardinal directions, and inflicting those hit with a weak burn. The result is just okay. She reminds me of another recent character I can't remember, but unless you stand on top of someone to have each toy hit a single target for maximum damage, you aren't getting much out of this. However, she's not our only new character to break down. A few months prior, Boxy Boo and the Grab Pack player were announced for this expansion, so let's give them a go. According to a Q&A, Mob Entertainment apparently got cold feet when it came time to include them. We were so close to perfection. I mean, not really, this DLC was more divisive than many were expecting, but it sounds better to say it like that and put all the blame on Mob. I don't know if they're also to blame for this hefty price tag, but $5.99 for this when you can get Monstrum for the same cost feels kinda fragmented. The game's outdated logo on menus was replaced by the current one, I don't know why this wasn't done earlier, and shout out to fellow ambassador LKZ for spreading awareness of this, but Dread Ducky. Ultimate. 780 damage. Kill me. Look, Ducky's basically been meta since the start of the game, but over time his place was slipping with the addition of more characters. Mortal counters like Sybil and Heather helps put him in his place, and consequently, fewer of them were showing up. He was still a pain in Shard Mayhem, sure, but especially when Lucky got added and pretty much had the same ultimate, he was becoming obsolete. Yeah, not anymore. 780 damage is literally unsurvivable without a shield, f*** you. We got a patch for the DLC content a few days later after we got the patch notes with no update in sight, but the changes weren't that massive. All good stuff, but nothing to change my general thoughts too much. Another update we got around this time was a quick hotfix I dubbed the Argo update. For no explicable reason before this, the UK creators were missing their skin names. Community member and Silent Hill nurse enthusiast Argo4 told Nixon to fix it. He obliged and did like hardly anything else. Oh wait, we did get the portal icon back for the games app, until it was removed in the very next update. We take what we can get, chat. Leading into 2024, Poppy reached Epic Games later than Steam? Wasn't the whole point of the year-long Epic Games delay to make the two builds compatible? Man, I don't know. Gun! House of Ashes looked to be next with a Steam page up. Screenshots, the portal icon, a release date, music. Mark your calendars for February 7th. I meant February 12th. No, sorry, February 16th. This isn't a bit or some joke, we actually have an entirely separate DLC to cover for once. We're back to year 1 levels of frequent content outputs, Jesus Christ, and Cory's coming soon after? Okay, we'll get to that later. Ancient Ashes, banger name already. Oh my god. This map is gorgeous and clearly had a lot of time put into it. Unlike Poppy, where I was pretty familiar with the source material, I don't know what any of these words mean. But I didn't care, it all looks fantastic. If anything, this DLC is making me want to check out the original game. Lots of variety in the rooms too, and the quality is marvelous. I want to live here. But hold your horses, visuals are only half the battle. Gameplay's another thing to consider, and it's serviceable. Really the only thing working against it is its supermassive size. Traps come in the form of these machine gun turrets which fire rounds into any player who walks within their radius when active. They're what a trap should be. Perfectly manageable dangers in the environment that aren't too hard nor easy to avoid. You can damage a unit enough to disable it for the rest of trap time because this is a trap, not a boss. Remember, you shouldn't be able to kill bosses and you already know where this is going. Truth be told, I'm not too bothered by being able to kill the vampire alien bosses. There's a more plentiful number of them, they're fairly quick, and their damage output is often scary. They can be your downfall if you're not careful. I'm not a fan of this growing inconsistency of killable bosses, but these ones I can get behind more than Huggy. Helps that they require like 8 heavy attacks to put down though, good lord. Also, unlike Poppy, we have characters to check out, as in plural. Our 4th speed monster in the game is Infected Clarice, and if you know anything about speed monsters, it's that they're typically at the top of the pack. Agatha, Reaper Nurse, and Fiend are some of the best choices that grab shards fast, catch up to any other foe, and dish out consistent damage. While all of that perfectly describes Clarice, what usually pushes a character over the edge is the strength of their ultimate ability. She stuns an opponent, off to a rocky start, damages them by 35%, and heals herself by double the amount of damage inflicted. Wow. To get a number as specific as 35%, you know this was playtested and tweaked so it could be as balanced as possible. Mission accomplished, this is one of the coolest ultimates we've had in a while. Being a percentage makes it super fair compared to the fixed values most other characters love taking advantage of. Sapping health and making a stun that's actually fair really does make her something special, and I couldn't be happier. I haven't been grading these new characters like ever in these videos, but Clarice gets an A+. Couldn't be happier. Next to her on the monster side is Infected Balathu. Side note, it's a fun touch that these characters start their idle animation on the menus with a unique emote. We need more of that, Vince. Back on track, he's classed under power. Not as problematic as Speed, I'd argue, largely because characters like Brute and Hangry have more situational abilities. Balathu has Falming Spear, a projectile he launches forward that unleashes 150 hit points and 50 additional burn damage. Hey, remember that time we had a recent character who used a percentage to make their ultimate fair? Hey, remember how cool that was? Hey, remember Clarice? Balathu sure doesn't, because if you land Falming Spear, that's a lot of the damage. 200 apiece, and this can hit multiple people. Let's move on before I scream. Things aren't much better on the mortal side. My nightmares were realized when I saw Jason. Not only do we have a second usable gun now, an assault rifle at that, but it basically doubles as a grenade launcher for the ultimate. 100 damage flat for anyone caught in the explosion. You know, I'm starting to think game balance isn't a high priority over a glow stick. It's cool to have another range mortal. I mean, it was kind of required for a DLC that showed this off in the reveal trailer. He's more fun than Sybil and doesn't have that tanky feeling she offers in her playstyle. But is this a way to live? Ending off this batch, Salem. He continues the trend of most balanced mortals just being alright and not much more than that. He'll drop a flare on the ground and everyone on the map will get a face full of red. Aside from UI elements, you'll be seeing nothing other than my favorite color. I like red, don't get me wrong, but even this is ridiculous. Nothing really wrong with the ultimate itself, I'm just being picky for the sake of entertainment value. This is actually an ultimate I think Detective Evan should have had, something that essentially blinds players. Salem was also supposed to gain a 10% speed buff when deploying his flare, but it wasn't working on launch and was later patched to work as intended. Talking about this DLC collectively, the skins are alright. Nothing special though. Jason's is pretty cool, I guess. But what's more than alright is the whole package. The House of Ashes DLC is probably one of the best we've ever had. Nothing's perfect, but this DLC made me so happy. It felt incredible to not only have M&M content coming out regularly, but for it to be this level of peak. I'm not going to discuss if these DLCs were worth the wait because I don't think we as a community can comfortably have that debate, but I think it's clear that Glowstick was genuinely trying to impress their fans with the House of Ashes crossover, and it shows. About a week later, we had a Q&A where Vince claimed a patch addressing some DLC issues went up a few days prior. The patch he was referring to ended up releasing after the stream. Nothing crazy, Salem would now only affect his team with the red flare, and this was actually when vampires could start being killed. Moving ahead to March, CoryXKenshin through the US Creator DLC was being deployed and... Alright guys, I'm gonna love you with you. I really don't want to talk about this DLC. It's 1 AM on November 1st, and last thing I want to do is think back to going up against CoryXKenshin in Monsters Immortals. I mean, his skins were pretty cool, so cool in fact that it took an extra day for the last recolor to be added, but his gameplay, man, his ultimate is just infected Balathus with 30 more damage and fear added on. This game is lying to you. He is not immortal. He is a monster. After what felt like years, probably because it was years, we finally got our character viewer as a quick addition to the base game. From the extras panel on the main menu, players can ogle at any playable character they have access to. Functionally and visually, it's just the character select screen, but you could switch teams and effectively alter who's on your main menu. It's pretty awesome to see this finally come to fruition, and an offline practice mode is supposedly also on the way, I said pessimistically. What else? Coma got a store page around this time. Vince said the game had officially moved to 116,000 units, and we got all the new expansions carried over to Epic Games. However, past this point for Year 4, stuff pretty much halts. The amount of things we got from May to October is fairly minimal, at least compared to the frequent output we had from the preceding months. In fact, the most notable news from this pocket of time was that the 2 Roblox DLCs were not only being fused into a singular add-on, but it'd be completely free for all players. That's pretty huge, and we're going to still be getting 2 maps and presumably a number of characters from each side. Mark my words, if anything's going to be cited as reviving Monsters Immortals, it's going to be this damn Roblox DLC. Also, M&M console ports seem to be in active development, and we got some behind-the-scenes looks at how Coma was being made. And nearing the 1-year anniversary of a DLC I can't remember, Silent Hill was delisted. Again. Oh, and modding also made a bit of a return. If you remember, the game being ported to Unreal Engine 5 screwed over most community mods. Fortunately, the release of the Cult of Foxy's second major update paved the way for some revival. I'm not only calling attention to this particular mod because it made some history, but because I'm in it. Yeah, me, RyGuyLV. I'm a playable mortal who replaces Dako. I have a sick new bendy skin being added in as well, and I don't have any jokes for this or anything. Being included in this is literally one of the coolest things that's ever happened to me online. Crash man, you have my undying, everlasting thanks and respect. You're so awesome, dude. And while I'm talking about modding, I quickly wanted to shed light on another mod I'm assisting with, a Doki Doki Literature Club one. I've always loved this game, and even ages ago, I was yearning for some M&M representation. This mod helps fulfill that, and I think all DDLC fans will love the content when it's released. I can't say much else, but I was given the green light to share this portal icon I made of the second best girl, don't at me. Links in the description, follow for updates, but let's get back to reality. The Coma DLC was intended to come out before the end of Year 4, but while putting the finishing touches on this video, it was delayed to December. I'm not sure if we'll get it that month, we still don't even have any music for it, which is pretty uncharacteristic of Glowstick. Aside from that one time we got the House of Ashes trap time a month after its DLC launched. Well, that's Year 4. You can go home now. You know, out of all the scripts for the yearly review series, this has been the shortest, and I kinda figured it would be going in. Even though Year 4 was, on paper, the second best year we've had, and only really rivaled by Year 1, I don't know, some of that magic is just worn off. For Years 2 and 3, I concluded the retrospectives with very sour outlooks on the future. While we're far from the doom and gloom I discussed back then, let's be real, this game is 4 years old. That's starting to be a while for a multiplayer game, especially for one on a scale such as this. Dark Deception, outside of a new release, is kinda niche, especially Monsters Immortals. The game's golden days feel like they're back in the past, and this is for a lot of reasons, but I think one of the more obvious ones is the meta. I didn't talk about it at all earlier, and you wanna know why? This is before Year 4, and this is after. Enough said. I still appreciate the game and will drop everything to check out new updates when they arrive, but much like a number of my friends and probably some of you, I've largely moved on. This game is far from something I play consistently, or even make mods for anymore. That passion is just not there like it used to be, and you know what? That's not such a bad thing. Glowstick's not the best at multiplayer games, as I'm sure this whole journey is illustrated well enough. But you know what they are better at? Single-player experiences that push the bounds of what's expected out of indie horror. Dark Deception and its Super D-Make both have bright futures, and from what I've seen, these projects are going to be brimming with quality when they release. I'm still a Glowstick Entertainment fan through and through because I love their work. That includes Monsters Immortals, of course, it's just not their priority much anymore. And can you blame them? I look forward to Year 5 and what it holds for this silly little horror party game, but I've got no expectations. Not out of hopelessness, I'm just giving this game the space to do its thing while I have my eyes glued on other Glowstick projects. And no matter what it does by next year, I'll be here to cover it.